Hello everyone, and welcome back to Secrets Behind the Stars. I hope your day is bright and your heart is open, because today we're unpacking a story that has stirred up a lot of feelings in our community. It's the kind of topic that lingers long after the video ends, the kind that makes you rethink what love sounds like when it's spoken with intention. The title says it all, Love in Yağmur's Heart, by Barış. His words will stay with you. And that's exactly where we're headed, into the meaning inside those words, the emotion beneath them, and the bond that so many of you have felt radiating from this couple. If you're new to Secrets Behind the Stars, this is your sign to subscribe so you don't miss our honest, warm conversations about the human side of celebrity lives. Hit that red button and ring the bell. We post the very stories that make you think, feel, and sometimes see your own relationships differently. Now, let's go straight to the point, without detours. Because the essence of what we're exploring lives at the center of how two people choose each other, day after day, in front of millions, and in the quiet spaces no one sees. When we talk about Yağmur Yüksel and Barış Baktas, many of us immediately sense something beyond a screen partnership. There's a charge in the air when they share a frame, there's ease in the way they meet each other mid-sentence, there's that soft current of recognition in a glance that says, I know you. It's more than talent and more than charisma, it's that elusive intimacy you can't fake, the kind that appears in their interviews, their backstage moments, the flickers of their off-duty life that travel to us through photos, captions, and rare, unguarded remarks. But here's the line we won't cross. This is not about peeking where we're not invited. Our goal is not to pry, but to reflect on what they've chosen to share publicly, and how those expressions sketch a portrait of love that is both grounded and stirring. The question is simple and profound. What kind of love are we witnessing between Yağmur and Barış? Is it the heady rush of mutual attraction and admiration? Is it a bond carefully grown from friendship, trust, and steadfast respect? Or is it that rare combination, the fire and the foundation coexisting, lifting each other higher? Listen closely when Yağmur speaks about Barış, or when she speaks around him, really, because sometimes the unsaid is louder than any declaration. You can hear a respect that isn't performative. It's not just about his craft or his presence on set, it's about who he is when the lights are off. She notices his discipline, the way he keeps promises to himself, the gentleness behind his determination. She singles out small things, how he listens without rushing to fix, how he finds humor in a heavy day, how he remembers to breathe before he answers. Those details feel real. They reveal an affection that sees the person and not just the image. And that kind of recognition, seeing the essence, is where many lasting relationships root themselves. Sometimes it feels like they've developed a quiet language no one else speaks. In a press conference, you'll spot it in a shared look that smooths tension. In a story post, you'll catch it in an inside joke that no one fully gets but everyone feels. The most powerful lines are often the gentlest, the ones said softly into microphones, the ones tucked into a thank you at an awards night, the ones hiding in a caption that looks simple until you read it twice. When Yağmur thanks Barış not just for being there but for helping her stay herself, that lands. When Barış talks about how she sharpens his focus without ever dimming his light, that lands too. Those are not grand gestures for show, they are markers of a deep, private understanding. Love doesn't only declare itself in glittering phrases. It works in actions that add up. Think of how they appear for each other's milestones. A premiere marked with quiet pride instead of loud spectacle, a rehearsal day made lighter because one of them stopped by with coffee and a laugh, a difficult decision eased by a calm conversation after midnight. There's a rhythm to their support, sometimes visible, sometimes invisible, that suggests they don't just cheer the wins, they help carry the weight that precedes them. And when the strain of public scrutiny presses close, their responses often point away from drama and toward center. A measured statement here, a very human boundary there. It tells you something, they protect what matters. So what do Barış's words about Yağmur actually tell us? Peel back the glow, and you hear a man who is inspired by the woman beside him. He doesn't frame her as a muse to admire from afar, he recognizes her as a partner who challenges and steadies him, who makes space for growth without making demands for perfection. He speaks as if her presence gives him courage to take bigger risks and humility to correct course when he needs to. And you sense a mirrored reflection when she talks, gratitude that isn't syrupy, admiration that isn't superficial. It feels like intimacy formed the slow way, through shared workloads, shared setbacks, shared laughter that stitches a long day back together. Here's the part that turns the lens back on us. What do we learn from the way they communicate affection and regard? Maybe the lesson is radical sincerity, saying what we feel while we can, and the daily practice of appreciation. How easy it is, in routine, to assume the people we love already know. But the difference between knowing and hearing can be the difference between drifting and drawing closer. Their example nudges us to speak up, to name the specific things we value, to let gratitude be fresh instead of implied. It also invites a bigger reflection about love in our current landscape. We all know what constant exposure can do. It distorts, it pressures, it tempts us to perform. Against that backdrop, an unvarnished connection is rare. With Yağmur and Barış, there's a sense that they are learning in real time how to stay real without closing up, how to be visible without becoming consumable. That balance, honesty without oversharing, privacy without secrecy, might be one of the most loving choices a couple in their position can make. The love we glimpse here doesn't sound possessive. It doesn't sound like control dressed up as care. It sounds like freedom given generously, space to be ambitious, space to be imperfect, space to keep becoming. When Barış talks about admiring Yağmur's mind, her instincts, her ethics, her patience, you hear a man who loves the core, not just the image. When she talks about trusting his steadiness, how he stays calm in chaos and makes the room safer, you hear a woman who knows the value of character. That is the kind of love that lasts beyond the current project, beyond trends, beyond the noise. And then there's the craft of words themselves. A sentence placed with care can hold an entire chapter of feeling. A simple, "I'm proud of you," means more when it lands after a season of doubt. A quiet, "thank you for having my back," becomes an anchor when the world pulls hard. Their statements, never melodramatic, rarely loud, are proof that clarity beats spectacle. They push us to ask, are we communicating the depth we feel? Are we letting fear of vulnerability block the very intimacy we crave? Or are we choosing the brave thing, speaking with tenderness, asking for what we need, honoring what we're given? In the end, the love we find in Barış's voice when he speaks of Yağmur stands as a reminder of the essentials: authenticity over performance, steadfast appreciation over assumption, support that shows up without being asked. It paints a picture of a relationship built on attention to detail and a shared promise to keep rooting for each other. Their words, often understated, carry warmth and weight. They leave us contemplating what it means to build a bond that breathes, one that is strong enough to sustain two lives and soft enough to let those lives expand. We've seen how genuine admiration opens the door to trust, how respect for individuality makes room for closeness, and how a practice of open, thoughtful communication turns affection into partnership. We've watched those qualities reflected, sometimes boldly, often quietly, in what Yağmur says of Barış and what Barış says of Yağmur. And perhaps that's why their connection resonates beyond fandoms and headlines. It looks like something both beautiful and workable, the kind of love that can navigate long days, evolving dreams, and the unpredictable weather of public life. So, I want to hear you. Which words, from public figures or your own life, have stayed with you the longest? What have you learned about loving someone in a way that lets them be fully themselves? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read them all, and your stories make this space what it is. If this conversation resonated with you, give the video a like, send it to someone who might need to hear it today, and make sure you're subscribed to Secrets Behind the Stars so you don't miss what's coming next. More stories, more reflections, more chances to look at love with kinder, clearer eyes. Until next time, take good care of your heart, and tell someone you appreciate them, today, while the moment is still yours to claim.